Yeah, can you do it with the other one now, please? Yeah. So sorry. And I want that one over here.
Over there? Okay.
Yeah, family's gonna be. Cool. Or actually, you know what? Why don't you just?
I was gonna move it out maybe, or?
Yeah, I'll have him right behind me right here. All right. Somebody needs me to wear this, I'm guessing.
You can just leave it on the podium. Yeah.
Perfect.
All right. So I was wondering if I could get just like a spelling of the name of the family.
I'll do all that at the beginning.
I'm not going to be able to do it.
Oh. Maddie can give you all that. We're just gonna have them take some questions here and then wrap it up.
Okay, so
Yeah. Yeah.
I just wanted to see. All right.
Let me go.
Thanks.
Let me grab.
And let me make sure.
Lisa.
Yeah, Elisa Schwartz.
Yeah.
Hey. No.
I didn't know who.
Oh, okay. I'm like, what?
Everybody ready? Thank you so much for coming. My name is Sarah Schelke. My name is spelled Sarahschelke. With me is Elisa Schwartz. She is Karen Garner's daughter. ALLISASWARTZ. And Shannon Stewart, STEWARD. She is Karen Garner's daughter-in-law. On June 26, 2020, almost a year ago, Karen Garner, 73-year-old woman with dementia, a grandmother of 9, Nana, and mother of 3, was brutally attacked, imprisoned, and kept from medical care by various members of the Loveland Police Department. She was aggressively thrown on the ground. Her shoulder was dislocated and her arm was broken by multiple officers. She was hogtied. It was all on camera. She was covered in her own blood on camera. Officer Austin Hopp and Daria Jalali, supervising officer, Sergeant Metzler, arrived on scene. He was told that the blood all over her belonged to her and no one else. And in a quote that became quite infamous very quickly, he was told, "A little bloody, a little muddy. That's how it works." Metzler agreed. A citizen stopped that day and tried to intervene. Sergeant Metzler went to go deal with him. That citizen told Sergeant Metzler he had witnessed excessive force, and Sergeant Metzler gaslit him. He warned him to stop inserting himself into the scene. And as he did so, Officers Hopp and Jalali said, "Good old Metzler." All on camera. These officers then brought Karen Garner back to the station, and they handcuffed her inside a cell. And they then joined with another officer, Tyler Blackett, laughing about what they had done to her, generating another now infamous quote from this case, as if it could have gotten any worse. "Ready for the pop." That's what we'll call part one of this event. And today, the 8th Judicial District Attorney's Office announced that after a month-long investigation, 700 pages of reports, dozens of witness interviews, they have filed 6 criminal charges against just 2 police officers who were involved in this grievous assault and its cover-up on Karen Garner. An event that happened over a year ago, or close to a year ago. Officer Hopp was criminally charged with Class 3 felony assault and Class 4 attempt to influence a public servant, and an official misconduct misdemeanor. That is a start, but it is not good enough. Make no mistake, the Garner family feels immense relief. The DA's office has charged some of these criminals with actual crimes. But we have all seen the same videos. And ultimately the DA's office's decision to stop their charging decisions after Hopp and Jalali has left this family with more questions than answers and more concern than relief. These officers did not do what they did in a vacuum. If they had, Karen would have received immediate medical attention. Hopp would have been long unemployed by now. Because we have all seen these same videos. We have all seen an elderly woman of 80 pounds with dementia tortured. I continue to hear the word used by various individuals investigating this case, excessive force. This is not an excessive force case. It's torture. In broad daylight, by multiple officers, some of them in supervisory capacities. Karen Garner was taken back to the station and she was falsely imprisoned. She was denied medical care while she was in pain and seriously injured. Supervisors went in and out, and we now know today, it's been confirmed that a blue team report was generated and it was sent up the chain of command at the Loveland Police Department. Multiple individuals at this police department watched what Hopp and Jalali did, and all of those individuals did nothing about it. Now, it wasn't just Miss Garner and her family that have been injured and traumatized. The entire nation and world have seen these videos, and they have been hurt, devastated, and traumatized. How is it that just 6 criminal charges against just 2 officers is the result? While everybody else at the Loveland Police Department, namely the Chief of Police, Robert Tyser, and the on-scene supervisor, Sergeant Metzler, remain employed. At the horrible core of this case has always been the question of how this criminal conduct occurred right in the open in downtown Loveland. And it then carried on right into the open back at the Loveland Police Department. What conditions made it possible for this kind of outrageous atrocity to occur? How could something like this have gone on to be celebrated, laughed about, reviewed by multiple levels of supervisors and chain of command, and then swept under the rug for nearly a year? In the past 5 weeks, the world has looked on, just like this family, in anguish, waiting for what most have expected and desired to be swift accountability for all of these officers on the criminal side. And it is not satisfactory to this family or to the community at large, with videos like these, with so many other officers involved, that only 6 criminal charges against 2 officers is the result. It is not satisfactory that Sergeant Metzler remains employed at this police department, whether on leave or not. It is unacceptable that we watched those 2 sets of videos and Chief Ticer decided to stay in charge, remain the one in charge of a police department after just presiding over that horrible atrocity. Officer Hopp's conduct is certainly criminal and reprehensible, but multiple members of this police department assisted him in both its execution and its cover-up. This makes them accessories to his crimes. It is a crime to help other people commit crimes. That is the law in Colorado. Why aren't these officers charged? Why are only 2 of these 3 charged? I have these blown up for a reason. Because you don't need to be the district attorney, you don't need to have a law degree to read what a crime is in Colorado. An accessory is pretty simple. A person is an accessory to a crime if with intent to hinder, delay, or prevent the discovery, detection, prosecution, or punishment of another for a crime, he renders assistance. Depending on the crime that's assisted with, that could be a class 4 felony, could be a misdemeanor. Having watched the videos we've seen in this case, I ask you, did any of you see other officers besides these 2 helping Officer Hopp avoid discovery, detection, prosecution, or punishment for the 2nd-degree assault he is now charged with on Karen Garner? I'll tell you, I saw Officer Jalali help with that. Not only did she participate in the assault and excessive force event, but she failed to report it and is criminally charged now. Not with accessory, but with some misdemeanors. And how about Metzler? Sergeant Metzler showed up and he immediately went to work on that concerned citizen who stopped to report excessive force. He immediately went to gaslight him and intimidate him from reporting what that citizen knew he had seen. That's accessory. That's accessory to a crime. And if Sergeant Metzler saw Hopp's body-worn camera video, which he did, then he was an accessory yet again when he watched it and he failed to report it. That's just a taste of some of the crimes these individuals could have been charged with. I'm not the district attorney, but I can read the criminal code. Here are the offenses that Officer Austin Hopp could have been charged with. Assault in the 1st degree on an at-risk person, a class 2 felony. Assault in the 3rd degree on an at-risk person, a Class 6 felony. Second-degree kidnapping, a Class 4 felony. Criminal negligence, Class 5 felony when that causes serious bodily injury to an at-risk person. False imprisonment of an at-risk person. False reporting. Official oppression. Perjury in the second degree. Interference with persons with disabilities, a Class 3 misdemeanor. Criminal mischief, a Class 3 misdemeanor. Caretaker neglect against an at-risk person, a Class 1 misdemeanor. Reckless endangerment, a Class 3 misdemeanor. Menacing, a Class 3 misdemeanor. Harassment, Class 1 and 3 misdemeanors. Officer Jalali has a similar list, but let's look at Sergeant Metzler's. Criminal negligence. This is a Class 5 felony for SBI to an at-risk person. False imprisonment of an at-risk person, Class 6 felony. Failure to intervene to prevent excessive use of force, Class 1 misdemeanor. Abuse of public records, tampering with physical evidence, failure to report use of force, failure as a mandatory reporter to report mistreatment of an at-risk elder, complicity offenses, and accessory offenses. District attorneys have no problem throwing the book at regular citizens when those citizens engage in crime or help others commit crime. Why was the district attorney's office here so thoughtful and sparing in their charging of the officers involved in this? Why were they so judicious with these particular criminals? Perhaps that question is a more rhetorical one. We all know the answer. Beyond how many crimes were not charged, the Garner family cannot help but notice what portion of this horrible atrocity inflicted upon their mother generated 0 criminal charges. And that is the period of time she was kept at the Loveland police station being denied medical care in pain while the officers laughed and rewatched the video of her being injured. Not one single crime was charged for what we saw in the booking area video. Not one. And what we saw in the booking area video, the Ready for the Pop video, contains arguably some of the most morally reprehensible criminal conduct of all. The continuation of that devastating question that we still have despite today's decisions from the district attorney's office is how it is that Sergeant Metzler still remains employed here at this police department. And more importantly, how and why the entire old guard that laid the foundation for this extended multi-hour torture event to occur, not just the chief, but the city manager, the city council, how it is that all of these people still believe they are qualified to stay in those positions, that they still remain installed in their positions, the city of Loveland. The family continues to anxiously await answers to any of that. The format for the rest of this is I was going to have Elisa, Ms. Schwartz, she has a statement. Ms. Stewart also has a brief statement. Then we'll take some questions and they can run through me. We'll start with Elisa.
I feel like the lack of empathy in the action of the officers that were involved, this isn't just only affecting my mom and my family, it's also affecting this whole city of Loveland. I feel like these are pretty minimal crimes that they put against them, and there's a whole list of charges that they could have put against these officers, and they just put a few. You can see in the video how they're laughing at my mom And they're making fun of her. And it feels like they're hiding behind this department. I feel like they think that they're above the law, and they're the ones that are supposed to be protecting all of us. I just want justice for my mom.
I'm Karen's daughter-in-law, and I speak a lot for my family because my husband and my family can't watch these videos. They can't stand to see it as the lead-in story over and over and over. Her humiliation. And it was very difficult to bring that forward, but it is the only way that we could get here today to even have somebody finally talk to us about charges. And after speaking with the district attorney, we're very pleased that there have at least been some criminal charges put against these officers. But the story didn't stop with Hopp and Jalali. The story continued, or we wouldn't all be here today, and we wouldn't be hearing we didn't know anything until April 14th. So the charges can't stop with Hopp and Jalali. They need to continue, and we need to find out everything that went on before April 14th. Thank you.
All right, and we'll take some questions here briefly.
How is Karen doing?
So we were able to go down and see her for Mother's Day, and she's just really scared and traumatized. Instead of embracing us because we are her loved ones, she pushes us away. Instead of reaching over and just touching us to let us know she cares, she just pulls away. She's just scared.
The first 8 seconds of the video that you watched before Hopp took her down is Karen Garner. She's walking, she's happy, she's smiling. We haven't seen that since. She doesn't smile since then. She just is so overwhelmed. We've talked to her caretakers about her PTSD from all of this, and it has truly changed the progression of how her dementia was going.
Other questions?
Do you think she'll ever kind of be the same after this?
No. I mean, with COVID, we didn't get to visit. We FaceTimed, we dropped off packages, we did everything we could, but we're hoping that if we can increase our visits, that maybe we can try to bring back a little more of the recognition of us as her family and the safety and the ability to touch and hug again. But we just don't know. We just have to keep taking everything one day at a time.
Ultimately, what would you like to see happen?
You know, there's a lot of things I think that we wanted to see happen as a family. In terms of justice for Karen Garner. But there's also a lot of things that need to happen, I think, for this community as well. And what continues to be salt on the wound for this family is that the old guard in Loveland stays in place, that no changes are being made at any leadership levels, which nearly, if we did not have the support and outrage of the international community with us, it would almost be like a re-traumatizing, gaslighting type of event from the city of Loveland, because their lack of meaningful response and their insistence that the people who were in charge when this happened stay in charge really causes us to sometimes just doubt everything. because it's insane. We've seen those videos. We've all seen them. And what would feel more impactful to this family, and I think to the community at large, would be if Loveland started making restorative, reparative measures proactively based on what they know they did wrong, rather than just continuing to wait and see what they have to do or what someone's going to make them do. We all know that when that first video came out, instantly 3 officers should have been fired. At a minimum. And it didn't happen. It took a long time. They were concerned about the due process of those officers. We also know that after that second video, I'll wait. After the second video, Chief Ticer should have resigned. This was no longer a rogue incident that we can try and just bad apple, as is the typical script. This was something that happened inside his house, where he's in charge, where he manages the culture, where he manages the training, where he manages the supervision. He decides who to hire. He decides what behavior gets promotions. And the fact that nothing has been done proactively by the city of Loveland, everything has only been a response to pushback and outrage from society, is a re-traumatizing daily event for this family. Other questions?
Every police officer in the Loveland Police Department is going through Alzheimer's Association training. Is that a good enough first step for you?
It is certainly better than nothing. And I think if I was a remotely competent chief of any police department, after watching those videos, I would make my employees do that. However, over age 70 adults in America are getting to be about 20% are afflicted by dementia or Alzheimer's. So this is not you get a gold star type for doing it type of training. This is very foreseeable need type of training for law enforcement to have and to get. And you know, if you look back in news articles through the Loveland Reporter Herald, Chief Ticer loves to boast about all of the mental health training that his officers have. And in fact, as recently as September 2020, so just a few months after his officers did this to Karen Garner, he had a whole article saying he would put his police force up against any in the country when it comes to mental health, mental illness training. So, of course, the more training is always better, but that is a Band-Aid on a decapitated head type of move for Loveland at this point. Other questions?
For the family, if it's okay, you had a chance to talk to Hopp and Jalali, sit down with them. What would you say?
I don't have anything to say. I don't. How do you put this into words? You can't. You can't. I'm sorry.
Couple more questions.
Do you have any dialogue with the police department? Have they apologized to the family at all?
They've not directly apologized to us at all.
For the city.
I know the city has some council members who have in their very active meetings, some of them in a minority have extended a general apology, while their city attorney and city manager counsel them to not do that. So of the few apologies that I think a couple council people have attempted to extend in that context through a Zoom city council meeting, whatever it was worth has been destroyed by watching what the majority members of the Loveland City Council have done in response, which is to chide those members for attempting to apologize, to yell at them, and to name call them for possibly jeopardizing their position in litigation, which is unfortunately very on brand, it feels like, with Loveland right now.
They want us to believe that this is an isolated incident. Do you know of more? Have you been contacted by other citizens?
We have received a lot of phone calls from citizens, definitely indicating it's not an isolated incident. However, just to really put some harrowing context on that claim, the city of Loveland settled a lawsuit, which was another case of mine, for excessive force involving different officers in January. There's something very important about the timeline of that. It's this Preston Sal versus the city of Loveland. You may recall on June 22nd, 2020 is when I filed that lawsuit in Preston Sal's case alleging excessive force, and there was video, and that also went viral, and there was a lot of public outcry. Loveland police officers went and did what they did to Karen Garner 4 days after that. So, to claim that it is an isolated incident is not just silly, but when you look at how undeterred Loveland police was after we filed the first lawsuit, I think that says even more. And we'll take one more question. We'll go for here.
For the daughter, you're holding flowers in your hand. Mom, she had flowers in her hand. Is that for her?
She loves picking flowers and buying flowers. And this is for her. This is for Mom.
Purple's also the color for dementia.
All right, thank you all so much for coming out.
Can I say one more thing?
You sure can.
We haven't been able to do this, and we've wanted to thank all of the people in Loveland and far beyond Loveland for their support, their prayers, and the media for your concern on this case. It has not gone unnoticed, and it does help on a lot of dark days. So I just want to extend that thank you.
Thank you all so much.
You did all that hard work.
Just for them to blow over.
It hasn't been windy all day today.